And when they do that, it might get pretty hairy here. I'm going to turn around now to get around that. You mentioned this started Friday with ICE raids around the city. The LAPD tried to make it very clear that it was not involved in those raids, not involved in picking people up. What it was involved with was keeping the peace when protesters got in the way of federal law enforcement and got into this. I'm going to put this mask on now and got into the streets. No, I'm a good thing. Someone just offered me water. They're offering masks. Very friendly crowd here at this point. But again, they were hit pretty hard with tear gas and pepper pellets a few minutes ago. Helicopters in the air circling. That's been this way for, I guess, an hour now, and everybody's sort of waiting for the other shoe to drop at this point here, Phil. I'm going to back away from this area where these canisters went off.
So wait, what's the catch? That's what most people ask when they hear about California's new RSS.
Excuse me.
Matt, if you can hear me, I'm wondering, what is this crowd doing? Is it just gathering there to protest? Has the crowd been moving? Is there any interaction between the crowd and the guard so far, besides the tear gas you mentioned about a half hour ago?
Right, so, and there's a significant amount of anger that specifically the California National Guard was deployed here. And Gavin Newsom has made it clear that even though he technically oversees the National Guard, it is a military institution with federal oversight. So when President Trump ordered the National Guard to deploy, that's what they had to do. So there is some interaction here, a lot of taunts being offered at or hurled at the National Guard and the federal law enforcement DHS officers. And I'd like to show you some of the signs. I'm just concerned that there's some profanity. So I'll show you this. It says abolish ICE, ICE out of LA, a lot of flags, Mexico, Guatemala, other countries here. People are angry and they're shocked that their fellow co-workers, people they've known for years who've lived here in LA, plucked out of restaurants, plucked out of places of work for no apparent reason. People who are not, they say, a danger to the public. So people are probably angrier right now here in LA than I've seen them in years, probably since the George Floyd protest, Phil.
All right, Matt, stay with us. We'll get back to you in just a few minutes. I want to get to Alex Brochet right now. Alex, I understand you have some new reporting. I'm wondering what lawmakers are saying about the Trump administration's actions here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, Phil, I'll get to that in just a second, but we actually just heard from President Trump, who spoke to reporters on the tarmac before departing to Camp David. He was asked by our Rachel Scott if he's prepared to invoke the Insurrection Act. He said depends on whether or not there is an insurrection. And then Rachel pressed him on whether or not he thought what was happening, what was playing out in California is an insurrection. He said, no, but you have violent people and we're not going to let them get away with it. And look, I mean, the reaction here in Washington really kind of cuts along party lines. We've seen Republicans, notably Speaker Johnson earlier today telling John Carl on This Week that he believes that the president did exactly what needed to be done. And frankly, he's not concerned about any ramifications from this deploying of these 2,000 National Guard troops. But we also heard from Democrats on the other side, notably Leader Jeffries, who echoed a lot of the words that we heard from California Governor Gavin Newsom, that the federal government is taking over this National Guard and deploying these 2,000 troops. He's saying it's not because that there's a shortage of law enforcement, it's because they want a spectacle. We've heard a number of Democrats say that they believe that this is an overreach and an overstep.
All right, Alex Brochet, thank you. Stand by. I want to bring in John Cohen, ABC News contributor and former acting undersecretary for intelligence at DHS. John, the LAPD, it seems, and Mayor Karen Bass have said they did not ask for this. This is coming from Washington. The LAPD didn't seem to say it was overwhelmed by what was happening in the streets. What is your thought as you're watching these pictures?
Yeah, I have multiple thoughts. I was a police officer in LA County. I know that the LAPD and the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office have the skills to deal with these types of situations. And as we watched the events over the last couple of days, they contained the demonstrations, they made arrests when necessary, and they minimized the acts of violence. My concern from a law enforcement official from a law enforcement perspective is that the introduction of the National Guard and the rhetoric that's coming from the administration is actually exacerbating the situation and is causing this situation to throttle toward a confrontation between people who are upset with the way that the Trump administration has implemented its immigration policy and now federal law enforcement and the National Guard. Let's remember what the Trump administration campaigned on is that they were going to target violent criminals, gang members who are in the country illegally. And what communities across the country have objected to is the fact that those operations have expanded to include grandmothers, mothers, high school kids, young babies who are getting cancer treatment. And the American people are expressing their concern. So people have a right to protest. The local law enforcement organizations in cities across the country know how to deal with those types of demonstrations, and introducing the National Guard and federal law enforcement at this point from a law enforcement perspective seems to be premature from our perspective.
And John, our Matt Gutman was just in the middle of this crowd, some folks offering him water because he was coughing a little bit, just because a short time ago, half hour, 45 minutes ago, he said that there was some tear gas dispersed. He actually said the crowd is peaceful, and we've seen a lot of peaceful crowds, at least during the day, and then at night it can turn violent. Last night the LAPD telling us they arrested 11